of things real quick. One of the things I want to talk about is that today is I'm not sure what day it is. It's the let's see, today's like today's Thursday. Thursday, February I think it's the 11th, February 11th. Anyway, so what happens is like we have it where let me check what date it is. Sorry, I'm not an idiot. All right, today's date is the 10th. Okay, today's February 10th. February 10th, and what happens is like we're looking at the fact that people have been making decisions based upon the science that we've been given and based upon the information that we've had from our local officials and from the people who are in control of us or who lead us or all that other stuff. Long story short, what's happened is that today, Kathy Hochul, they passed, they stopped the mask mandates and the job mandates for entering into businesses and for also for people being able to make decisions on their own as opposed to having to have a government mandate, which we haven't really been following anyway. But the bottom line is that what happens is that you're faced with a situation where the people are left to make individual choices to make decisions as opposed to having to make a decision based upon force from above. Um, we look at the when I say it's not quite things are going to happen because what happened is this, right? They look at the situation and we are faced with the psychological damage that has been done based upon this thing, the loss of jobs, the loss of career, loss of life, loss of personal sanity, loss of all these different things that happen. People lost their mind, their lives, their jobs, their family. People have lost trust in the government. People have lost trust in the CDC, and people also lost trust in one another. The greatest of all, trust in one another. And what has happened? This has been one of the biggest psychological, experimental, psychological operations I've ever seen in my entire life. Where for 3 years, and even now it's going to continue because what's happened is that people have a situation where they're going to keep hanging on to this. People are walking down the block right now, still wearing masks and things like that. And what happens? They have scientists have found out that you can have a one-way mask that'll protect you, and protect you and protect you from others and protect others from you if you just what do you call it, wear it by yourself. But you know what? We never believe that because the Bible says, well, pretty much our breath of life has been given to us. Bible says. But also the thing about this is that remember when Jesus said in the scriptures, he says, when I was sick, you visited me. When I was poor, I was hungry, you fed me. When I was naked, you clothed me, and all that stuff. And what Jesus said, and they said, when you did it to least, you did it unto me. One of those things is that about taking care of other people, and taking care of people in a scenario, in a situation. Um, Long story short, what's happened is that you have this scenario in a situation where it's like people are still going to continue on with wearing this mask thing, still going to continue to demand that people wear it, and they're going to continue to have it. As a matter of fact, even on the buses, they still have to wear it. Pretty much government places still going to have to wear it, and all these different things, and they're going to still ask you for things they're not supposed to ask you for. That's against the law for them to ask you these questions. Nevertheless, what happens because the psychological damage is so filled and so full, I'm just have to pray for a lot of people and say, you know what, God help these people to get free from those who have been psychologically scarred from. I've been scarred from this as well. Not necessarily like because of having to force it. There's anxiety. I mean, every time you go into a place, you have to deal with having to fight. You stand your ground and explain to people how this is not one of those things where it's not fair because it's against the law. You're not allowed to do this, not allowed to force you, especially when you can't wear a mask. It's like pretty much we've taken personal situations ourselves and upon ourselves, so we have to go through certain things. For example, like we just did a trip. We just did a giant trip over to Florida, and the trip required that we had to go. We couldn't fly. We had to do it. Pretty much had to drive, and so we drove. That cost us time. It cost us energy having to drive, having to make this decision to go to Florida to visit my wife's mom. Um, Next thing too is like my job situation. I went through a lot of struggle because of the thing with not wearing, able to wear a mask. Another thing too is like you have it where children can't go to the museums. And they've done a lot of damage in terms of psychological damage, and you have people who are going to be facing the repercussions. Not to mention. It's not even a thing. It's like they have no right. The government has no right to do this kind of thing. It's not a constitution. In the tenth amendment, it says that whatever is not an express right given to the government, they can't do that. So to them doing a federal mass mandate, they knew they couldn't do it. They knew. They know what they did. They did this thing where they slowly gave us. They took away things over time, thinking that we're going to just go ahead and comply with it. Going to just comply with the thing, not willing to not knowing that pretty much not knowing where we should stand, where we should fight. We thought maybe the thing would just blow over. What they did was that they took ground. They took ground and never going to give up again. Now they say that they think they have permission. This lady who we didn't even elect is coming here telling us that we can stop doing something or start doing something. That she doesn't have the power for that. That's not a power given by the governor. Governor cannot make a law. The governor cannot mandate anything. Governor cannot mandate. How laws work is that the laws are given by legislative branch. People have to vote. People have to make go and rally. Got to raise their hand. Got to say all in favor. They have to make laws because it's like the thing is they can't just have like a majority rule. They have to base upon law. Last night we were sitting there learning about the Constitution. One of the things we learned about the Constitution was this. It says you have this thing where in the Constitution, what's the difference between a monarchy and oligarchy, a tyranny, pretty much an anarchy, and democracy in terms of like a representative democracy, and then well, not even just democracy and representative democracy. What's the difference between that? They said, well, a monarchy is ruled by one person, but usually it's not ruled by a cabinet of people. And so a cabinet of people, it's kind of like an oligarchy with and one person's the front person, and you have that's kind of like a monarchy. What ended up happening? There's never been a really true monarchy. There's never just one king who rules. It's a king and his board of trustees that rule. The next thing too you have is you have a scenario where it's the oligarchies, and you have on the other side of anarchy. Anarchy is usually transitional. You have a thing where people have anarchy for a time. Eventually, the people who bring the end of things are the ones who try and bring peace to it or make their own dictatorship or something like that, or their own oligarchy, because they're the ones who cause the problems, and they bring anarchy. They're the ones who say I can cure this anarchy. Like think about like Bane from Batman, Batman the movie, The Dark Knight Rises. You have that. Then you have another scenario where they say democracy is where majority rules. All right, and then it's like you have a thing where, for example, you have it where let's say you have 10 people, they're chasing down one bandit, right? And one bandit is like he's running because he robbed something, and what happens is like the 10 people says all in favor of hanging this man. 10 of them say let's hang this man. The one person says no, so it's 10 to 1 voting. The one guy he doesn't want to get hung. He says I don't want to be hung to death and all that. So it's like that's a majority rule. That's a democracy right there, right? And democracy is not fair. So what happens is what happens the difference between a democracy and a republic, or pretty much a republic is where the people come to vote and says 10 people says this person should die, this one person said he shouldn't, and what happens is that he says the people want to put him to death, but he says what, no, this man does not get put to death unless he has a fair trial, and then even the fair trial has to be unanimous. Everybody has to vote in favor that that he's been put to death, that the evidence is against him, or evidence shows that he's what do you call it? He's done these things, he's done these crimes, and that he's been put to death, as opposed to so the man has rights. Everybody has rights. So the thing is about what happens when a majority rule is that it doesn't concern about the rights of the individual. They have a thing where if you're on a boat and one person has to die, to save like in the Bible talked about how they were going to sentence Jesus to die. In the book, and John chapter 11 talked about how they were plotting to kill Jesus. Right after he did he raised Lazarus from the dead. So in John chapter 11, talks about how Jesus raised Lazarus from the dead. And a couple verses later, 11:53, I was reading this the other day, he says that the Pharisees were plotting to put Jesus to death. Because they said the miracle he has done, he said it was such a wonderful thing, and the miracle he did was so powerful that they couldn't actually, it was so crazy. He raised up Lazarus from the dead. After he raised Lazarus from the dead, they were faced with saying, "Oh man, if we can't let this man go, because if he lets this man go, the whole nation's gonna be lost. We're gonna lose the whole nation." And then the high priest says, if we don't you know nothing at all? If it's expedient that we let one person die for the nation. One person. So it's like you let one person die on behalf of the nation, which is kind of like signifying what kind of death Jesus is going to die. He's going to die to take away the sins of the world. But the thing was like they plotted to have this one man die. They plotted. There was their plot, but it's also like one of those things where you look at it that they're willing to kill one person for their own life's sake. And so the thing is like you look at that, and that's not democracy. That's not a republic type of government where people are represented, a representative type thing. We're represented by people who are there to protect our rights. This is what happens. Our government has gone ballistic in terms of like not protecting our rights. Instead, they are doing their own thing. They're only changing the laws because what happens is that they're faced with their midterms. They're faced with their midterm elections and faced with being reelected. And even in this case of this Hochul lady, she didn't even get elected at all. She was like the whole Cuomo thing. He was removed. He resigned, and they put her in place. and she wasn't properly like she shouldn't be able to do anything except maintain what's already at stake. You're an interim governor. You're not a lawmaking doing anything governor. You can't maintain or take away or add to anything. As a matter of fact, they don't have the rights to even take away or add to anything. The way this government is working it's horrible because they're just doing whatever. It's lawlessness. She says this thing is going to stay until the appeal. What kind of thing is that? How are you going to keep something in motion as a stay unless, of course, it's like the judges already said that this is not constitutional. Therefore, you cannot enforce this. And she says it has to stay until there's an appeal. Who does that? You stay in jail until there's an appeal, which means that once the law has been spoken, people have made a decision. You stay in jail until the appeal is heard. Not that you stay out of jail until there's an appeal and you go back to jail. I mean, what kind of thing is that? Nevertheless, what I'm saying is this: we were able to go to a theater yesterday. We got a chance to see the movie Spider-Man: No Way Home, and that was actually a pretty interesting movie. As long as you don't really start thinking about it, it's really kind of more like a thing where it's like I think it's more of a movie that was written for the fans. It was written for the fans for the sake of the fans, and not really for the sake of if you didn't see all the movies, all the five movies, or all that, you have no idea what's going on. But for the most part, though, what happens is that you have it where the bottom line is you are faced with a scenario where it's a movie you just go to enjoy and you don't think about it too much. Because if you start thinking about it too much, it'll start to fall apart. But those of us who are fans who loved the whole thing and put it all together, it's really really fun movie. I totally enjoyed it. The fact that we were able to go into a theater, we couldn't stay here in the five boroughs and go see. We had to go see it in another borough, out in Long Island. And we thank God for the opportunity to be able to do that because it's like they see that last day was today's the last day for that movie to be playing in the theater. So it's like it's one of those things where we are glad we got a chance to see it, and we didn't have to wear a mask or have jabs and all that foolishness. No, we didn't have to do any of that, and by the grace of God, it's like we were able to like really have a good time. And the kids, we've done our darndest to keep our kids from having to deal with all the psychology and fear mongering that's been going on. The Bible says fear is torment. I've said this 1,000 times in all my live streams and stuff. That fear is torment, and the way that they do the stuff, the way that the government works, is based on fear and force. They fear you, they make you fear, and then they hit you with force. And government is not eloquence, it's not niceness, it's not reason. It is force, and all it is force. They will torment you. They will take your stuff away at gunpoint and do damage to you based on force, based on their ability to rule, but it's not how it's supposed to be. You're supposed to defend a man's right to live, defend a man's right to property, defend a man's right to have an opinion. Our First Amendment was destroyed during these 2 years. Our Second Amendment was destroyed. People couldn't go to church because they were so afraid. People were so afraid they couldn't even think right. People couldn't go to work. And then what happens is like they change the story every single day. Those who listened in the beginning, I mean, I have to admit that in the beginning, I was convinced at some point that maybe this is real. For like maybe a day or two, then they switched the story again. And I was like, hold up, how's the story so much? How is it when they did the riots, people were able to be there side by side? How is it no one else could have a funeral, but they could have three funerals for St. George Floyd? How could they have it where people couldn't go to family members? They couldn't be there. People were dying alone in nursing homes. People were going through all manner of all kind of wickedness they're going through, and they're going through all manner of suffering. And you have people like politicians are playing the game. They're going out there getting their hair done. They're going there doing all kind of wickedness. They're doing all kind of stuff. They're having their parties and they're laughing and joking. They have all the information. We're trusting the information that they're telling us, and then they do all their partying and doing their stuff. And now they're going to lift the mandates. Why are they going to lift it all of a sudden? Oh, because reasons? Oh, I got the book, The Real Fauci. And so we've been kind of milling through that slowly because it's such a big book. I have it right here with me, right here. I have it right here. The Real Fauci. Milling through this book real slowly. And so pretty much this book is one of those books that like it kind of exposes that how people, if you don't stand for something, what's going to happen? You end up becoming complicit in it. I had to give up many things that were really dear to me because of the fact that the places that I wanted to go to, they had the rules. They had rules that you had to have this, you had to have that. I'm like, I can't. I'm not going to go. There's times when I'm going to go in and fight. And sometimes what we learned that there's places that don't care about it. So those places became our favorite places during this time. We went to places that did not care, did not bother, did not ask us questions, and did not force it upon us. And so those became our favorite places. We carved out places here that we could go to, places for our groceries, places for our laundry, places for for the kids to have places to go. We hung out with a lot of our friends. We spent a lot of time together. You see, the thing is this: what happened is that when the government comes down with some crazy stuff, when there's rules that don't make any sense in terms of that's not good for the people, that doesn't make any sense, especially when you're in a republic like we are. We're in a republic. What happens is that we have people representing us. They're supposed to be up there saying good things first, but instead they're thinking about their own dollar in their pocket. You have people making laws, people who are not abiding by the things they're saying. People that are making one thing next. For example, you had Joe Biden. He made a federal whatever mask mandate, and then 5 seconds later, he's on federal grounds with no mask on. I mean, the hypocrisy is fierce with these people. They don't care. It's like they're communists, they're socialists, they're socialist communists, they're doing all kind of stuff. And what's happening is that eventually it catches up to them. Eventually it'll catch up to them. All the people who have done this stuff to us, it'll catch up to them, and they'll get their comeuppance. Now it's not going to be us per se. Maybe God might do something to them. God might actually show them the error of their wickedness, especially now with the midterms coming. Hopefully, people will vote and be able to make good decisions about what needs to be done regarding, not electing these people, about really looking into what our government has done to us and what things they've taken away from us that they're not allowed to take away. You see, remember, the 10th Amendment says they don't have the power. We have explicit authority given from the people. They don't have the power to do that. This whole thing, this whole entire psyop that they went through was a test to show what they can do to us. Whatever happens next after this is going to be unbelievable scary because they were willing to make people fight each other, rat on each other, be aware of a mask that does not work, right? And all it does is stop your breathing. Stop your breathing, gives you hypoxia and acidosis to your body, causes you to lose memory function, all kind of stuff where you can't breathe properly in the breath of life. One time, I put a mask on for I kid you not, for maybe 5 minutes. And when I took it off, you have sweet oxygen, sweet cool oxygen coming into your lungs. It was such a wonderful feeling when you took it off. I don't know how you guys do it for 8 hours, for more than that. I know how you guys are complicit to do that. Are you willing to? They tell you to do this. They're gonna tell you to do more stuff. I mean, it's. I mean, it's your right to do whatever you want to do. But I mean, if they're taking it away from you, they're just gonna keep taking it away from you. And the lady on stage, she got up there, Heather, I think I forget her last name. She gets up there and she says what she says, and she's like, "Oh, I got my jab, I got my jab, I got my this, I got my that." And then she says, Jesus loves me most. Jesus loves me most of all. And after she collapsed, boom, understand? She cracked her head. I was like, that's crazy. The sad part about all of this, is that many kids have lost their life. The psychological damage they've done to children is it's we don't know what's coming down the pike regarding that. Whole society of people are going to be messed up because of it. You have this thing where it's like it talks about the Georgia Guidestones. We were able to go there on our way back up from Florida about almost a month ago now. And so what happens is when we were there looking at Georgia Guidestones, we saw that there was an aspect of the very first line says that to maintain a human population of 500 million, to be in balance with nature. Now, I wrote on my Facebook, it said that, if you're not of the be fruitful and multiply mindset from the scripture, you're definitely of the depopulation agenda of man. And man wants to depopulate man. It's always been that case, all throughout history. They've always been trying to wipe out people. Always been wiping out people, killing people by the millions, by the hundreds of millions. Government has been in the forefront of that. You've had the Russian government, with the German government, you have the American government. You have the Chinese and the Japanese government. Every single government has done a thing where they've done a democide, where they've actually wiped out their own people. You know, degrees. They even put it in the water, they put it in the air, they put it in the poison, and they say, oops, sorry, later. And declassified 40 years later when everybody's dead, or many people are dead from it, and they have one or two people left. They say, oh, we're sorry for the experimentation that we did to you. And then in case you have the Stalin, and you have the Holodomor, back in where they killed 10 million people. They starved them to death. And that was government did that. Government did that to its own people. So for the most part, though, I just want to say that this is I didn't want to talk forever, but I just wanted to give a couple of points about things that kind of working on and thinking about. But for the most part, though, what, this is it's not quite over. They're gonna do this again and again and again unless we stop them from doing this again and again and again. We have the only choice and option that we have at this point is to stand our ground and to let people know and to vote with our wallets. Go to places that are support. The businesses are also complicit too. Those businesses that force people to lose their jobs, For example, those the hospitals and the quote unquote pandemic, they're losing their people lose their job for not and they hired COVID positive. I don't believe it at all. By the way, I don't believe any of it. You can say what you want, but I believe it's because of the radiation poisoning people are facing. That's the reason why this is happening. Radiation poisoning regarding the fact that people are exposed to a new type of radiation, therefore they have flu-like symptoms, and because of that, but people's bodies are trying to help them. When they give you a jab, it's full of poison, and the poison is causing your body to react, and they're not sure what it does because they did a Operation Warp Speed, haste makes waste kind of thing, and what they did was that they brought people to struggle they shouldn't have to struggle with. Let's see. So what I'm trying to say is that I'm going to end the video here, but I just want to say that you know what, when you think about what we are faced with as a people, that the leadership has lied to us. The people have lied to us. I'm not saying we should go do anything. Anything we do should be done peacefully and in order. We shouldn't do anything violent. We are to be a peaceful people, people who talk and not use their fists. I don't know what's going to happen to this country going forward. I just know that whatever test they were trying to do, they've accomplished it. They're able to see what we're able to take and tolerate, and what we're able to endure, as opposed to just whatever we're willing to give up. So I just want to say, I'm sad that what's happened. I'm glad that they finally start lowering all the mandates and things that I hear in New York. Sad about the fact that it's like it took them forever to do this, and that people didn't fight. I mean, there a lot of people fought. I was part of a couple of groups that we would go in, we would resist, and how we did it was that we did rallies, and the group also many people got arrested by just doing sit-ins and things like that. And I was really encouraged by the fact that they were willing to go through. Many people were willing to go through that, and sit down. We were able to find places, and we said, well, I'm not going to go to places like the Cheesecake Factory. I wasn't going to go there. I'm like, I'm not. If you're not going to let me in, I go. Like the Bible says, if you go where they welcome you. If you're welcome to come in, then go. If they let you into the pet shop, go to the pet shop. If they let you into the thing, go. They say do this, and said nope, I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to fight my way into a store and give you money. If you're gonna my money out of my pocket, hard to get money. And so what happens is for me to fight my way in so I could buy your products to keep your store in business, and you're gonna not welcome me? No, 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 that's not how it works. You welcome me in, I buy stuff, I walk out, I tell people about how wonderful you are. We continue on. This game goes back and forth. We went to a wonderful movie theater. We're gonna tell more people about it. We're gonna invite more friends. We're gonna have meetings there. They did not bother me, did not stress me out, and I'm glad for it. So that means that we find restaurants that are willing to take us in. We found the restaurant over in Pastoria Rocco. We were able to go visit them, and they had a wonderful time. And we tell people about that. So wherever there's a positive, where people are willing to let people not discriminate, we will go there. We will go there. And we'll tell people about it, and we'll invite them over, and make sure that the places are not going to get in trouble. And so willing to stand. But for the most part, though, if they're willing to take us in, we're willing to bless them with money. So just want to say that. And thank you so much for watching my video for just a few minutes. And so pretty much, these are my gremlins in the back, by the way. My gremlin horde. Yeah, Gizmo's not there. But for the most part, I just want to say that, don't give up. And once again, find your tribe. Find your tribe. Become a conspiracy theorist. Definitely understand that there's a lot of things going on. But the greatest of it all is to trust Jesus as your Savior. To find Jesus and to trust Him as your Savior, because what happens at the end of the day, it's like He's the one who opens our eyes. The Bible says Jesus said, I'm the way, the truth, and the life. The way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. If you ever get a chance to read John chapter 11, John chapter 11 to chapter 18. If you just read those what is it, 6, 7 chapters in the Bible. I mean, there's a lot more, but the book of John is amazing. If you read chapters 11, that's where it talks about from Lazarus. He dies and Jesus raised him from the dead, and that's a miracle so awesome that they were like they wanted to kill Lazarus again. So like poor Lazarus, he just rose from the dead. They want to kill him again. Then you have the scenario where it's like, then you have the thing where they want to put Jesus to death. Then they want the thing where they actually plot and they put him to death. But by the time you get to 18. But for the most part, when you read those chapters, those are some really intense verses of scripture. If you get a chance to read it, please do. God bless you. To talk to you again. I'll let you know what's up after this. How this mandate is going to go down. But if you get a chance to listen to a Jesse Kelly show and listen to Anomaly, these guys are really good. Listen to Dr. Andrew Kaufman, Dr. Thomas Cowan. these guys are really good regarding the things and how this pandemic was just a plan to really mess with people's rights and freedoms as people, as Americans, and really they did a horrible job. The majority that fell into this, God help you, but everybody still has individual rights, and everyone has a right to conscience and make decisions. And all the pastors who stood up, and all the pastors who didn't stand up, God will hold us all accountable for what we've done. So God bless you. Take care now and be free. Live free. That's the only way to live.